was a heck of a nice piece. Lalo's a beautiful cat, too. I knew him in Paris when he was a piano player in 1955. But it was hard, you know, so many people, I think in Hollywood, were jealous of him because he decided he really wanted to pursue his dream. So they figured by definition that was a put down. Then a lot of jazz people were jealous because he got so rich. And then classical people were jealous because they're just jealous that he got anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Bottom line is, man, he could play his ass off. Right, everything he did, I thought was really good. You know, film scores, symphonies, blending with Dizzy.
Yeah, he wrote a double bass concerto for Gary Carr. It's really nice.
Hey, Gary, something. Listen, I'll be quiet now. Just like I'm giving my last rites, my confession.
All right. All right. Well, you got 80 years of confessing to do. How's the year been?
It's been terrific. The guy who's my representative told me, he said between 60 and 80 in our culture you're considered basically washed up. He said if you can live to be 80 and then hit all the cylinders, which I'm blessed by God to do, he said then you achieve legendary status and you start getting all the great chances to do stuff that you've been up for the last 30 or 40 years. So now I have one of the most fulfilling years I've ever had.
Yeah. Now you're the legendary David Amram, I guess.
I'm not legendary, but at least I have a chance for all the years of what I tried to pursue to hopefully inspire others to see that we're all creative and every single person who crosses our path we should respect because they have something cultural and creative to offer us if we pay attention to them. Whether or not those other people whose paths we cross are in the arts or not, everybody has a lesson to teach you. So when you get older, part of your job is to try to encourage younger people coming up to be patient, to be optimistic, to be hardworking, to be dedicated, not to give up, and to try to go for the gold and be better than you're expected to be. And if you do that, you have a happy and fulfilled life. And whatever you have to do to pay your rent has nothing to do with your value as an artist. And there is a thing called shelf life, which means more than Andy Warhol's 15 minutes of fame, but something that has real lasting value. And at this point, first of all, at 80, I can see some of my friends like Jack Kerouac and Charlie Parker and even Leonard Bernstein's classical music, and so many of the painters like Joan Mitchell and people that I knew are now being appreciated not as historic figures, but as people who created some kind of a work of enduring value. And in my own case, that's beginning to happen more. All my music's getting played and recorded. And some of the things like the Manchurian Candidate score, which was considered to be a landmark 40-some years ago, now finally came out on a recording for the first time. And that was done in 1962, so someone said, well, what is it like waiting 49 years? I said, well, Moses was in the desert 40 years, so I'm right on schedule. And my hope is that I can encourage people of all ages, and especially younger people, to, you know, to work hard and pursue what they love to do, and realize that the sharing of that with others is the most satisfying, the most rewarding, the most fun, and the best thing for your health.
Yeah. What was that experience like, writing film scores? You did Manchurian Candidate, you also did Splendor in the Grass, and several other Kazan scores, didn't you?
I loved working on those films, and those were directors, first of all, that really wanted to make a good movie that would have shelf life, which their films did. And secondly, they wanted music that wasn't ground out of a sausage maker by 11 ghostwriters and orchestrators, but actually by a composer. And with thousands of gifted composers in our country, it's not difficult to find somebody to do that. But unfortunately, even back then, the Hollywood corporate approach was to get one person who was like a building contractor to hire out a bunch of other people to do everything. And that's okay if you're, building a skyscraper. But I think for a symphony or an opera or music for the theater or music for film, and I've done all of those, everything should be the best possible work that can be done. And I did those scores, orchestrated and did everything myself, and I was allowed to do the very best I could. So after the Manchurian Candidate, I was offered 7 films in 1 year. And I said, I can't possibly write that much good music and orchestrate it and conduct it and get the players. So I was told, that's, quote, that's why you have your ghostwriters and your orchestrators. And I said, I'm a composer. I can't put my name on something that someone else wrote. And they looked at me as if I had a severe mental problem. So I surmised, even though I was only 31 years old, it was like 50 years ago, hey, even though I was only, 31 years old, if I did that, 5 years down the line, if I were lucky, I would be the ghostwriter for the next David Amram when they got sick of me. So I packed all that in, and before I'd even moved there, and went back east and continued in the last 50 years doing what I love to do, which is the long, hard, seemingly hopeless, impractical road. And I thank God that I did it. And I have worked on some really good film scores, for documentary films once in a while, with the things that I love to do, and where they really wanted me to do the best that I could. And I've written a whole bunch of concertos and other classical works and chamber works, and played with all of some of the best musicians in the world, and conducted wonderful orchestras, and had a great life, and I'm grateful. And I'm even back in Kerrville for the 33rd time. You can't beat that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think my button says this is the 40th year of Kerrville, so you've not quite perfect attendance, but you've been here for more years than not.
Yeah. Well, I'm a relative newcomer. I came first in 1976, so I'm one of the new old kids on the block.
Yeah. How many years did we do that classical music festival out here?
Well, when Rod had that, we did several.
Was that a couple of summers we did?
Yeah, they had some summers, and we had people from the San Antonio Orchestra and the Austin Symphony, and they were wonderful. And then we did a series of messiahs in the downtown in Kerrville in the wintertime. It was really fun. And of course, as we all know, in Texas, every kind of music, just like just about every culture and every kind of person, is respected in some level. So when I had a chance to work doing the classical festival, a lot of the classical players would go out to the campfires and have the time of their life, and a lot of the folk players felt very comfortable being with them, and the people who played jazz and Mexican music or whatever it was all had that wonderful warmth and interest and shared appreciation of Texas as a very special place that just made it perfect.
I saw someone comment recently, and I forget exactly the context, but someone that was not a musician had somehow come in contact with some classical musicians and was amazed, said, wow, they were just like regular people.
Yeah. Well, I think nearby Luckenbach's Hondo Crouch expressed it best. He said, Luckenbach, Texas, population 7, everybody is somebody in Luckenbach. And everybody in the world is somebody. And every culture has an essence and a value. And anybody can keep bad company of people who give you advice that if you separate yourself from your fellow brother or sister human beings and act like a megalomaniac, disrespectful monster, somehow that will make you a more powerful person. And the reality is that once you give up decency and good manners and love of family and love of community and start to act in a Philistine, swinish manner, you're going to blow the whole scene, whatever area you work in professionally and whatever you do in your leisure time. Because the thing that brings joy is respect and love and appreciation and understanding and interest in other people. And that's what music teaches all of us, that every person who crosses your path can, first of all, be a learning experience, and secondly, often be a joy and create. That's the thing when you play music. Once you work with people, it's a bond for life. You can see them 20 years later, and there's some kind of a connection there that you might never have. And I've been all over in the jungles in El Salvador and up in the Khyber Pass, where they could, chop my head off in 1 minute and no one would have complained. Instead of being assassinated or robbed or beaten up or ignored, people would, if you play one tune together, people invite you to their house for supper.